Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Josh Jackson.
Howdy, y'all.
Welcome back, Josh.
Thanks, sir.
And we are joined by two guests in studio today. We're joined by retired officer Mark Vincent and retired officer Doug Hutchison. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Hey, you got their names right.
I always stress over that, right?
I do.
Again, we've had some crazy names up in here, and I've had some I've had to struggle with. But Mark Vincent and Doug Hutchison, that's not that bad, Josh. At least I didn't call you Joanne Jackson.
That's true. That's true. I had faith in you.
All right.
A little bit.
Well, thanks for listening in today, guys. Let's start with Mark. Mark, you are a retired officer, correct?
Correct.
And what agency did you work for?
I worked for Irving PD for about a little over 30 years.
30 years. Good deal. Now, what kind of opportunities did you have when you were working for Irving?
Well, I started obviously in patrol, and then I was transferred into being a school resource officer for a while. I wanted to go to motors, but I wasn't quite senior enough to get there at the beginning, and I left from the school resource officer, went to motors finally, got to be there, and actually promoted out of motors to a sergeant, and actually went back to patrol again, then rewound myself back, went back to as an SRO sergeant, and then went back to being a motor sergeant for about 12 years in motors, actually DWI sergeant and special events sergeant. I had a great career.
Yeah, very busy. Sounds like you had quite the opportunities there in Irving.
I did. Enjoyed them all.
Outstanding. Now, Doug, you are also retired.
That's correct. That's correct.
And where did you work?
I started off as a PSO or a public service officer, like a cadet at Dallas PD, right out of high school. I was 18 years old, worked in the traffic division, directing traffic and traffic enforcement downtown Dallas for 2.5 years. As soon as I come of age, I went and hired with Irving, did a little over 27 years with them. And I served as patrol officer, went to CID for about a year. I was too young in my career. I wanted to be on the street. Went back to patrol, wasn't there 15 minutes, got on motors. I did 2 stints in motors for a total of 13 years on bikes. The rest of the time on patrol. I was fortunate enough to get to go to Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation School, being a DOT guy. Did that for about 7 years. And then when I retired from there, I took another law enforcement job and was special ranger with the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association, working cattle thefts, bank frauds on livestock loans, agricultural-related crime, horse theft, that kind of stuff. So
now let me ask you this, because a lot of us, of course, I started at a sheriff's office, and then I went to work for a municipality. When it comes down to horse theft and cow theft, do we see that?
Yeah, it's still a huge problem in Texas. I worked for them for a little over 9 years, retired in 15. But, cattle theft in Texas is still a huge, huge, huge problem. I think the last full year that I worked, there's only 30 of those guys that are commissioned by the Texas Department of Public Safety as special rangers. The last full year that I worked, we recovered or accounted for about $5.5 million in stolen cattle and horses, equipment, that kind of stuff. It's still, and that's just what we got back,
Yeah, I can honestly say, working for the Farmers Branch Police Department, I never recovered a stolen cow.
No,
Josh,
I didn't in Coppell either. No.
Well, we were refer to ourselves as the bovine constabulary,
Wow. Getting fancy up there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Good. It was a great, great job and just awesome outfit. I mean, they were a lot of fun to work with and work for.
That's awesome.
And I've got to ask this because, again, I'm not a large animal guy. How do you know if a cow or a horse is stolen?
Well, they still brand them, just like they did back in the 1800s, and they mark, do earmarks, they do brands. Unfortunately, in Texas, the Texas Ag Code says that all cattle have to be branded by the age of 6 months, but there's no penalty if they don't. So a lot of them don't get branded. That's generally the ones that get stolen, and we've made DNA cases on cattle.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you're listening and you've got cattle, make sure you're branding your cattle.
That's right. Trust your neighbor, brand your cattle. Yeah.
That's
the old saying.
We've passed out a lot of tips here on the show. Our last episode, if you haven't heard it, then you need to listen to it. But we we established several tips. If you're going to run from police, don't wear Crocs or
put them in sport mode.
Put them in sport mode. Josh, you gave us the tip on
don't speed near shade trees.
Shade trees in the summer. Don't speed near shade trees in the
True.
summer. We also heard that make sure that you ride your brakes if you're going downhill, because there's an officer at the bottom of the hill. And Curtis brought us one last week. He said if you're going to speed, wear a Chick-fil-A shirt.
Yep, you don't want to.
So
you don't spit where you eat, right? So
that's it. So, yeah, we're giving out all sorts of good advice on this show.
Steve, I just realized you're surrounded by 3 motor officers.
Steve, you just
that's what we've got for today's show.
you just did the best you could, buddy.
Oh, yeah, Farmers Branch, we didn't have motors until now.
Right.
So
they had to get rid of you first.
Wow.
Didn't want to risk that chance, right? He might put in for this.
That's right.
Now, Mark, going back to you, you've shared some stories with me already, and you've mentioned that you were in fact a motor officer, and heck, Josh just established you're all motor officers.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of stories do you have from your time on motors?
Oh man, some of them I probably shouldn't talk about, but
those are the ones we really like.
Yeah.
well, so I was still kind of new. I wasn't a sergeant over there at the time, and as an officer, we ride in stack. The most senior person, the lead guy's in the front left, and then you pair off and you ride in stack by seniority. Well, I was number 4 in this stack. There was 6 of us. I think we had worked a Cowboy game, and we were heading back to. That's back when the Cowboys used to play.
Play football, right?
Right, exactly. We were heading back to the stalls to put our bikes up, and we're coming up at MacArthur and Rock Island, and it goes from straight lanes into a turn lane to the left when you cross the tracks. Well, there was a car in the left lane pretty close to the turn lane there, but the 2 guys in front, they squeezed together. They managed to move over. So I squeezed to the left to scoot up against my partner on the left side, and he squeezes over a little bit, and all of a sudden I hear giggling behind me, and I'm looking in my mirrors to see what's going on. I look to my left, and that officer's bike is sitting right next to me, still running, standing up, but he's gone.
He's got that. Okay.
So I look.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, so I look off to the left, and he was kind of doing like a cartwheel, and on the deal over there. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Well, he gets back up and comes back over there. The light turns green about the time he gets back on his bike, kicks it back in gear, and we ride off. So we get into the Sally Port, and I'm like, nobody's saying anything, and I'm thinking, what in the world? So I'm like, well, I don't know about y'all, but that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And apparently, I scooted him over enough where he scraped the curb just enough where it kicked it in neutral, and he thought he was going down, so he bailed. You don't want to go down with your bike, I guess. So he bailed off of it, and
the bike didn't go down.
It did not. It stood. It was waiting for him to get back to it.
Pretty
it was a good bike.
That's an expert move right there. That's awesome.
right.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny watching it how it all happened.
Well, I've got to ask this, and Doug, you said you were a motor officer as well. The bikes that you guys rode, did they come with kickstands?
They did. They did. A pair, actually, side and center.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, the Kawasaki's did.
Well, I don't know what the deal was in Capel, or at least with Josh's
Just
bike.
with my bike.
But in previous episodes, we've learned that Josh's bike apparently didn't come with a kickstand because every time he answered a call, he would throw his bike down.
Not every time. 9 times out of 10. So, yeah.
Well, I think I've seen Josh on the ground a few times at some of the rodeos, and his bike managed to find its way to the ground occasionally, like the rest of us, I guess.
This
it
is
just
getting
happens.
quite ugly.
Yeah. No, my biking was familiar with the ground. Yeah.
Now,
for sure.
Now, Doug, you had mentioned to me a motor story that you had, and you guys kind of played some pranks on each other here and there.
Yeah, I had a partner that I'll leave nameless. We were riding together. He was senior, and the senior jock always rides on the left, the junior guy on the right. The senior jock sets the speed, the gear selection, the whole nine. And as junior guy, you're just supposed to keep up with the senior guy. So we're going up Beltline Road in front of Irving Mall. This was decades ago. And we were both single at the time, and we stop at a red light, and a girl pulls up next to us in a brand new Pontiac Grand Prix with the T-tops off, and she was beautiful. I mean, she was pretty, and I was single.
And you were wearing motor boots.
Oh, I was wearing motor boots. And so I
Yeah.
look over at her, and she smiles, and I smile back at her, and I kind of feel my bike wiggle a little bit because your left foot always goes on the ground. The right foot's covering the rear brake. What I didn't realize is my partner had reached over, because we had heel-toe shifters, he reaches over with his foot and taps me into neutral. So when the light changes to green, he gasses it, and he takes off. Well, I pop the clutch, and I'm sitting still, and I revved up, put about 8,000 RPM, tickling my hind parts. And I look over at this girl, and she is laughing her butt off. And she drives off, and I look down the road, and I see my partner, and all I can see is his back shaking as he's going down the road. And I pulled up next to him, and I said, Hoss, one of these days, you're going to get paid. And I paid him back. I did.
It always comes full circle.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Trying to help you out is all he was doing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know the guy.
Yes.
And you mentioned, I think we're going to go here on this.
Okay.
You had a motor partner and maybe a weapon malfunction or something?
Yeah, same guy, same partner.
Same
yeah,
guy.
he was a liability, I'm telling you. We were working evenings, and I think we'd gotten off at like midnight. That's back when motor jocks used to work after dark. And we
that wasn't during Josh's time. Sundown, we're going to stop.
I got scared of the dark.
Yeah. So we'd gotten off, I don't remember, at midnight or 1 a.m. or something like that. And about 8:30 the next morning, I wake up, my phone's ringing. I wake up, I answered, it's my partner, and he's like, what are you doing? He's talking real loud, and I said, sleeping, man, what are you doing? And he goes, you need to come to my apartment. And I said, well, what's going on? Just don't worry about it, just come over here right now. I said, are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'm fine, just get over here. So I get over there, and I knock on the door, and it's like he opens it just wide enough for me to get in, like there's some big secret, and he shuts the door, and I said, what's going on? Man, I had an accidental discharge with my 357.
Oops.
I was cleaning it this morning. And I said, how did you do that? Because we're all carrying wheel guns. We're still carrying revolvers at that point. He said, I'd cleaned it. I put the rounds back in there. And he said, I'm sorry. He had taken the rounds out, and he decided he was going to polish the cylinder like you used to. You'd shut it, and then you just snap through, pulling the trigger, and the wheel would turn. He's got his rag around there. Well, he didn't check close enough. About the third click, kaboom, that magnum goes off through a kitchen wall. There was another wall, and then it buried up in a brick wall, like an exterior exposed brick wall in the kitchen. And there was a funniest part of it all. Remember back in the 80s, they used to have those hanging baskets, big macrame rope looking things.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it hit this big plant in this macrame hanging thing, killed the plant. There's dirt and crap.
Shot the plant.
Yeah. I mean, they're everywhere. And I said, nobody was hit. You're absolutely, he goes, no, the round's right over there. You can see it in the brick. And I'm like, oh, good, Good. So I said, what are you going to do? And he goes, man, I don't know. And I said, you on good terms? Because he had apartment security in this complex, I said, you on good terms with your maintenance guy? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, call him down here. So he gets a hold of him. He comes in. He goes, look, here's the deal. I need you to be quiet. Can you fix this? He goes, yeah, I can fix it. He goes, here's $50. Now, this is like in 1981, 82. And the guy goes, hey, I'll take care of it for $50.
No problem.
Never got reported, and we moved on. But, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, which leads us to another tip. Make sure your weapon is unloaded when you clean it.
Yes, and that's not just law enforcement. That's anybody.
Anybody. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Man.
Now, Mark, you told some stories about some cameras in squad cars and, folks riding out with you.
Yes. So, we used to be able to have civilians come out and ride, and I had met somebody, a lady, since Doug's talking about the pretty ladies, and I was like, I'm going to invite this lady to come out and ride with me. And and so I'm thinking, I got to impress her, she's kind of cute. And at the time I was single also. And so I invite her to come out and ride, and I tell her, we just got cameras in these cars, and I said, so whatever you do, just kind of keep quiet. If something happens, just be careful of what you say on here. And she's like, okay, yeah, I got this and everything. So she hadn't been in the car 30 minutes. And we're running up the Story Road heading up to Rock Island. And we have a green light we're fixing to go through. And this truck almost completely plows us over. Well, he sees, man, I almost hit a squad car. So he turns right and the chase is on. So we're in a pursuit. Of course, I'm loving it. Everything's great. Everything's recorded. And cameras are all on.
And look, you look like a stud. You've got this lady you're trying to impress. You got a car chase.
That's right.
Couldn't have planned it any better.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this
Here we go.
So this guy tries to make a left turn onto a street and loses control, hits a telephone pole. Pole comes down, crashing onto the truck. And all I remember, I hear this, her feet are up on the dash. And I hear this, F-bomb, okay? I mean, to keep the cursing words out. And so I'm like, I jump out of the car, go down and get this guy out of the car, get him all in custody and everything. And things are settled down now. And I come back and I said, I told you to be careful about what you say. And she says, I watched, I didn't say anything. So I hit rewind and you hear this, F-bomb again. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm like, everybody's going to hear this. So, but I guess I impressed her enough because we've been married for 32 years now. We didn't get married that night or anything. But,
A couple months, huh?
yeah, I had to do some checks on her and make sure everything was good. But yeah, that was it.
Wow. Has she cleaned up her language since?
It depends on if I make her mad or not.
or if you're chasing a car down the road.
That's right. Oh well, so we had another pursuit and we were going to the airport at the same time and the guy bails off in between trees. So what do? We bail right off behind it in the squad car. Now her basic statement after that was, "I'll never ride with you again." So I still get the comments in my own car now from her. You're not in a pursuit,
No. Yeah, I heard that.
Hey, raise your hand if you've heard that one. Yeah, that's. And for those of you not watching on YouTube, everybody just raised their hand.
Yep. And if you didn't, you're probably single.
That's right.
Well, in the in-car cameras, nowadays you've got in-car cameras, you got the body cameras. You're recorded up one side and down the other, and I don't know anyone who hasn't said something on the recording that, unintentionally and or maybe intentionally. Whenever I retired, they'd gotten further along in technology with all the body cameras and stuff. And there's sensors on your holsters, sensors on your tasers. And if you draw any of those weapons out, it would automatically kick on the recorder.
Wow.
And if you've got another buddy at the scene and his camera's going, yours is going to pop on whenever you get there as well. Well, I probably should even tell this, but you know what? We're going with it. I spent the last 7 years at my agency as our public information officer, PR guy, crime prevention, did all that. So I had an office. I was right next to admin. Well, there was a restroom really in close proximity to my office. And a lot of guys would like to come to the station and they would use that restroom. And it was always fun whenever they go in there to use the restroom. I would just unholster my gun and put it back real quick so I'd kick on their camera. I was like, perfect.
Yes. And supervisors were forced to watch those videos.
Every time.
So that was probably part of it. Guess what Sergeant so-and-so's going to have to watch now?
Because it was a less than a minute video.
That's correct.
Yep.
Why are all 8 of you in here with your camera on in the restroom, with your mics on?
We had big signs in our department that said turn off camera before you walk in. So
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys, let's take a break. We'll be back to more Offbeat in just a minute.
All right.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired Officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today, Josh Jackson.
Howdy.
And two guests joining us in the studio today. We've got retired Officer Mark Vincent and retired Officer Doug Hutchison. So this segment, sponsored by our good friends at Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. Now, Doug, something I did want to discuss with you. One thing that that our listeners may or may not know about you is that you've actually got a book that you published.
Yes, we do. We do. Something we're quite proud of.
And what is the name of your book?
It's Behind the Texas Badge. Can I hold this up for the camera?
Absolutely. If you're watching on YouTube,
if you're watching on YouTube,
you can see this.
Behind the Texas Badge. It's a big color photo pictorial book. It's a big color photo photography and pictorial. 252 pages, 103 officers are featured in the book. Mark's in the book. Josh is in the book. I'm the last guy in there, and
so
always bringing up the rear.
Is this a book about motor officers? What's
well, almost, yeah. But
It's all the ones with interesting stories.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Wow. Can always count on you, Josh. So that, as I understand it, you and your wife traveled across the state visiting with a lot of different officers.
We did. Actually, about 15,000 miles over an 11-month period. There's 101 officers in the book, and then there's 2 canine partners. And then Carol got the canine handlers to tell the dog story from the dog's perspective, and it's pretty cool. And it was a really, really fun time. Made some lifelong friends along the trail. The book did well. We had a really big time with it, and something we're really proud of.
Excellent. And if someone wanted to pick up one of the books, because again, Christmas is coming up.
That's right.
It's coming.
That's right.
This would be an awesome thing, kind of a coffee table book, if you will.
That's right.
Featuring some of our great officers here in the state of Texas. How would someone find a way to purchase a book?
It's on our website at behindthetexasbadge.com, and that will come directly from Carol and I. And I just want to plug her real quick. All of the work that you see inside is Carol's work. I was just the logistics guy and the truck driver and setting all of it up. But everything in there is her work. And it's when we did this back in when we were doing all of our traveling in 2017, I guess it was really kind of a pushback on what the mainstream media was putting out on all the negativity about law enforcement. We were just tired of them being under constant attack, and we thought in some small way we're going to get them to tell their stories. She had a questionnaire of 15 questions to each officer. I was kind of afraid that it might get some, really similar answers, and nothing could have been further from the truth. And then I would read this stuff coming in, and we'd go interview them, take their pictures, and it's like I've never even heard of some of this. Wow. Some of the things that happen. I mean, it's just incredible. Some of the stories are tough, and there should be, and then some of them are extremely funny stories.
We like the funny ones for sure.
Yes, we do.
And the artwork and the photos are just, you can't describe them. They're amazing.
Thank you.
So
thank you. I know she'll appreciate that.
Well, excellent. If you need a Christmas idea, a Christmas gift idea for that first responder, that law enforcement person in your life, then check it out, guys. Again, behindthebadge.com.
Behind the Texas Badge.
behindthetexasbadge.com. Check it out online, guys. Get yourself a copy of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I just want to point something out. Mark, I think you make a great Vanna White in your retirement days. I mean, you held it up. You had you kept the shadows off of it. You did a really good job.
I can open the book, and I can go through there and make things look pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
I promise
I'm
not to
impressed.
chase you. I won't chase you around the desk or anything.
Thank you, Doug.
You're quite welcome.
Oh, now, Mark. Speaking of Mark here, back in your days at Irving, were you allowed to carry cell phones?
No, not in the beginning. I mean, that was one of those taboo things. You couldn't have a cell phone. You couldn't have a pager. And, of course, everybody that lived in an off-duty apartment complex had a pager, but you were hiding it in your socks or hiding your bag, and hopefully the sergeant didn't find out because you just flat couldn't have that kind of stuff.
Well, ever run into a situation where someone might have actually had that kind of stuff on them?
I guess I can't receive discipline from it anymore, but
You're good. You're totally good.
several of us bought back in the day. You had a deal called a bag phone. It was kind of a bag, and had your phone in there that you could plug into a cigarette lighter, get your signal, and you paid for the service. And so since it was such a taboo deal that they actually had sergeants look for, check, make sure the guys don't have this stuff out there, because you don't want your business on the phone. You want to be out there working. I think nowadays they get on Netflix all the time or something. I don't know, but
Yeah,
so,
surprised me.
Yeah, so we had one of our officers that was eating at a restaurant, and breakfast. It was about 3:00 in the morning on a break, and we decided to set him up. I know that's hard to believe that we would do that to each other, but
I don't buy it.
No.
yeah. So we unlocked his car because everybody's key fit the same car. So we unlocked his car and put one of our cell phones in there, plugged it in, had it where he couldn't see it, and we called the sergeant who was in on it, and she said, "Let me know when you got it all set up, and I'll call him and I'll have tell him to meet me." So when you met your sergeant, you found wherever the location they told you to come to, and you just kind of parked, side to side, window to window, so you could talk. So we knew they were sitting there talking, so we started calling the cell phone, and sure enough, it's ringing, and he's not answering. So we let it go all the way through, and we called it back. After about the third time, we asked when she told us about it. She said, "He's just looking at me, talking to me. The phone's ringing in the background." She goes,
Just ignore it.
Yeah, she goes, "Are you going to answer that?" And he goes, "Ain't my phone." So he didn't want anything to do with that, but I think he really knew that we set him up and he'd been had at that point in time.
You didn't shoot him a text message?
No, we didn't have no text. Do you remember?
It was
We
either
didn't have
carrier
anything
pigeon or
like
smoke
that.
signal, one of the two. Yeah.
That's right.
Now
Now, I don't go back as far as Doug does, but we still had pagers at least.
yeah.
I'm not sure he did.
Well, we had mules and wagons and those kinds of things.
the carrier pigeon
Yeah,
things.
that's right.
Smoke signals.
That's right.
Well, you think about some of the pranks officers pull on their coworkers, on fellow officers, and if you can get a supervisor on board with that, those
Oh, yeah.
are some of the best pranks out there.
They help with IA.
Yeah.
It does. That person's going to want to protect their own.
Well, they got
backside,
some stuff to lose off their shoulder before they would get real trouble. So
We used to take the PA mics and the mic to the radio to dispatch, and you could unscrew them in the back, and we'd swap them too when they were in lunch. And then they'd give them a call, and they're sitting there talking on their PA, answering dispatch, and it's like,
awesome.
boy, that would agitate you too.
that's awesome.
going back to your cell phones, we weren't allowed to carry cell phones early on as well, and there might have been some guys that still carried theirs, and everybody get their duty bags, all their gear, and they'd lined up by the back door. We go into briefing, and then once you break briefing, grab your bag, and go trade off cars with whoever had the car before you. And we had one officer who had his bag in that back area, and sergeant's walking in the back door. Well, the guy's cell phone goes off, and his cell phone's in his bag.
Oh, man.
This poor guy got written up for having a cell phone in his bag when you're not supposed to have it. I kid you not, it was the next day in which the chief decided we could now carry cell phones. But he got disciplined the day before for having this.
Oh, man.
Oh,
So-
man.
Yeah, true story.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Now, Doug, occasionally, in law enforcement, we run into some folks that, I don't know, they're suffering from some challenges in life. I don't
A
know.
little unbalanced, having some issues.
Yeah, we don't want to, we want to use the politically correct term, but since we don't care about politics on this show,
That's been established.
yeah. Sorry if you're offended. There's other things out there. You ran into a lady once that might have been unbalanced.
Right. And actually, we were quite familiar with her. We were, my partner and I were on motorcycles running radar down in southeast Irving, and I hear the call come out, and this woman had issues, and she was elderly, but she was really sweet. She was harmless, and, kind of at that time, most everybody that worked that part of town knew her and what have you, and we just go up there and talk to her, and it'd be fine. So I get up there, and I told my partner he'd taken off to write a ticket, and I said, I called him on radio, and I said, I'll get that call when it came out as a patrol officer had it. I said, just disregard him, I'm right up the street. So I go over to her house, and she has the aluminum foil on the windows, and she's got the aluminum foil on the front door. And so I walk up there, and I'm wearing my helmet, my motor helmets, those little half helmets that we used to wear. And so I walk up and knock on the door, and she yanks the door open, and she's wearing a tinfoil beanie. And she says, get in the house, you're letting the Martians raise in. I said, yes, ma'am, I'm coming. So I step through the door, and she slams the door behind me. Well, she's got aluminum foil on the ceilings and on some of the interior walls. I mean, she's really prepared for these Martians' ray guns. And so I'm talking to her, and she's starting to calm down. I said, well, you going to be okay? Everything all right? She goes, yeah, I think I'll be all right. And so I hear my partner clear off the traffic stop, and he says he's en route to where I am. So I said, well, listen, I want to make sure that your tinfoil beanie is sufficient and it's going to work for you.
Yeah, it's got to repel those rays.
That's right.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I wear that and just see if I can sense anything? And I said, but I don't want to leave you unprotected. Would you put my helmet on and we'll just swap headgear?
Here we go.
And she's like, sure. So here's this little elderly, frail woman standing there with a black and white police motorcycle helmet on. I've got her beanie on. And I hear my partner knocking on the door. Well, she yanks the door open. And she goes, get in. You're letting the Martians raise in. And he looks at her and he kind of goes, one of these like steps back. Oh, my gosh, what's going on? So I said, hey, it's cool. Come on in, So he kind of figured out what was going on. But we had a big laugh out of that.
And so when he comes in, you're wearing a tinfoil cap.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't know, maybe he thought I should have been.
I don't remember anything like that on Chips.
Oh man.
Well, in a previous episode, we had an officer that he responded to a similar situation. The civilian, the caller always reported that there was a Martian inside her house, an alien inside her house, and he had a partner with him one day, and they walked in. She had called about the same thing, and he said, I kid you not, we were going once a week, and if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. I forgot what the title was. It's Aliens and something. But his partner pretty much just told him, hey, roll with this. And the lady said he's sitting right there in that chair. So he went over there and started having a conversation with the chair and told him to get out and hollered at his partner to open up the window. And they opened up the window and they threw the alien out and yelled at him never to come back. And
that worked.
Yep.
They never got another call.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
now you just do whatever it takes.
Problem solving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's thinking outside the box.
That's right.
You can get so much accomplished that way. Now, Mark, I'll share this with you. Josh just told me that he would write his mom a ticket in the past.
That's why she never drove through Cop Hill.
Yeah,
that's a motor dog for you.
That's right.
Yeah, he'd even write his mom a ticket. Now, have you ever stopped a family member?
Yes. You got to have a little fun in what you're doing. So I'm
absolutely you do.
I'm heading to the station one day, and I see my sister-in-law with a loaded van of my nieces, and
that's a good target right there.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was a good chance her inspection was out, and maybe she had a few things I could get her on. She didn't know where I was or anything, and so as she passes by me, I immediately hit the brakes, do a U-turn, and light it up. And after I talked to her now, she was scared to death. I mean, she was nervous like crazy, and she pulls into a 7-Eleven parking lot, and I get out of the car and start walking up there, and she looks in the mirror. She finally sees it's me, so she relaxes. About that time, all the doors of the van pop open. All my nieces come running out, and they come running back there and just latch onto me. Oh, Uncle Mark, we thought you was a real policeman.
Like a clown car.
I'm looking at my shoulder pads thinking, yeah, it still says police on there, but yeah,
I am a real policeman.
Yeah. It's funny. Family never sees it that way.
That's correct, right?
Well,
Maybe it's a coping mechanism. I don't know. So.
Well, at least they didn't all jump out. All your nieces jump out and they take off running from the cops.
Well, that would be a different side of the family, but we don't talk about that one.
But again, if you do run from the cops, either kick off the Crocs or put them in sport mode.
That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
There you go.
And Doug, you said you had some stories in regards to DPS helicopter.
Yes, yeah. When I was working as special ranger for the Cattle Raisers Association, they would take me up from time to time. We'd go looking for stolen cattle and what have you. And I would just get in the helicopter and give them the GPS coordinates. I'd usually sit in the back seat. There were 2 trooper pilots sitting up front. And I'd just give them the coordinates, and they'd plug it in, and we'd take off. Well, one day I get in that, one of the many times I got to fly with them out of Austin Bergstrom when I was stationed down there. I'd jump up in the back seat, and the senior pilot is putting his helmet on, and I notice there's a little sticker on the back, and I kind of, what does that say? And I look, and it says, "Stop screaming, I'm scared too." I thought, well, that really boosted my confidence a lot. And then another time, I get in a helicopter, and it's just the one pilot by himself, and we're talking about the controls and this and that, and I'm fascinated with them. I could watch helicopters all day long. And so I'm saying, "Hey, man, I kind of understand what this is and what that does." And I said, "But what about this handle down here on your left hand?" "Well, that's the throttle." And he says, "And if you get a hold of that handle, it's called the collective. If you pull it up, the houses get small, and if you push it down, they get big again." I'm like, "Won't you shut up? You're not the smartest guy in this helicopter. Just insult me."
Nope, but he's your pilot.
Yep, that's right. And he was a good one, a doggone good one. Matter of fact, he's in the book. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Sorry, Steve.
Okay. I'm gonna write myself in the back.
I think you should draw yourself in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe
But working for the Cattle Raisers Association, I worked with some awesome people. And just another quick story. One of the guys that was stationed in Lubbock, I called him one morning. He worked in law enforcement for 51 years, as a matter of fact. But anyway, I called him one morning. I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm just doing a little mechanic work." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "What are you working on?" He said, "I'm putting a rear end in a recliner." "Why?" Okay, I get it.
That's
51
it.
years. Wow.
Yeah.
You're talking about stickers. Didn't you have one of those stickers on the back of your bike that said, "Thank God I could be behind you"?
Yeah.
Or something
Yeah.
like that?
The license plate cover. Yeah. And then, and if you don't know, I love Disney. And so the guys had a license plate made for me and changed it out before I got to work. It said Disney Thunder. So I rolled around for like a week or maybe longer because I didn't look at my license plate cover. It said Disney Thunder.
Wow.
So, yeah. So if you got a ticket from Disney Thunder, you're welcome.
Disney Thunder. I'm surprised you didn't have that airbrush, that title airbrushed on the side of
It wouldn't be past me.
Mark, I don't know if you were in on the prank at Texas Stadium. It was at the Billy Graham Crusade. And I had a jack-in-the-box antenna ball on the back of my bike, on the antenna.
Nice.
And so I went up on where the command post was, and I was taking a break, I don't know, getting some coffee or something, and I walked back over to my bike, and they had turned my motorcycle helmet into a jack-in-the-box antenna ball and made me put it on with pictures.
Cone.
And it was on the wall of a restaurant in North Irving for years and years and years as you're going out the door. Here I am with the jack-in-the-box antenna ball on my head.
Well, you gotta have fun.
No respect.
Absolutely.
No respect.
All in love.
That's right.
Well, and what's the name of the restaurant?
Bennigan's?
Bennigan's.
I don't know if is it still there? I don't know if it's still there.
It's gone. Yeah. It's
Best
gone.
Monte Cristo sandwich anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carol's cousins used to tell me, "Hey, we saw you at Bennigan's today." And I'm like, "Great."
All right, guys, we'll be back. Let's welcome Daniel Cook from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration into the studio. Daniel, how do I know if I need to have my roof inspected?
Steve, that is a great question. And to be very honest with you, everybody's roof needs checked at least once a year. It's a simple process. You let us come out. One of our qualified guys will get up there, make an honest assessment of what they're finding. Could be a loose shingle, could be a piece of metal flashing that's come loose, sealant gets knocked off of the nails. Could be anything as from something really small to something that could be very catastrophic if it's let go. So annual inspections are the best thing for your home. And the majority of the time, they're simple little things that can get done pretty quickly to stop major items from happening. And then obviously, if you see missing shingles or shingle debris in your yard, unfortunately, if you see some type of water damage inside your house, those are 911s to get us out there as fast as possible. But let's just do it very simply. Once a year, have us come out. We will record the time that we come out, and we'll even call you the next year to let you know it's time for another inspection. So that's it.
And you offer free roof inspections, correct?
Absolutely, Steve. That's why it's so critical for a homeowner to take advantage of it. We're coming out. We're going to do the hard work. We're going to get up on there. We're not going to want to fall off your roof, but we just want to make sure your home's taken care of. And so take advantage of it.
If you're in need of a new roof repair, remodeling, or restoration, give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. The number's 833-COOK-DFW. Again, that's 833-COOK-DFW. The website, cookdfw.com. Be sure to ask them about their free first responder upgrade. And we're back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. We've got two guests joining us in studio today. We've got retired officer Mark Vincent and retired officer Doug Hutchison. Now, if you have not checked out the website yet, check us out. It's offbeatcopshow.com. You can listen to all episodes there on the website, as well as subscribe to the email list. Also, check us out on Facebook. It's in Facebook and Instagram as well. If you're an officer and you have a funny story you want to come on the show and share with our listeners, then send us an email. It's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. So, Mark and Doug, you guys worked with each other for quite a while.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you even rode those two-wheel motorcycle things
That's
together
right.
and all that kind of stuff.
That you didn't, but go ahead.
Does it?
Anyhow.
Love it.
Wow.
Not to change the subject or
man.
anything.
I ride a dirt bike. Does that count?
That's close
No.
enough.
No.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I still had to ride in the back of the group if I ride with you guys, right? Yeah, I'm a prospect.
We'd
Yeah.
cut you down at the
For
knees,
gang.
but never mind.
Well, the guys in the front of the pack when they get stacked up, we always said those were the victims and we were the witnesses at the
That's
back.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's why they always put the sergeant up there.
That's right.
Well, in your time working together, did y'all get along? I mean, you ever bump heads or anything?
No, we never bumped heads. It was just some of Mark's decisions from time to time.
So Mark's got some questionable decision
Yeah,
making.
he does. One in particular, we were working and getting ready to go home for the day. It's like, I think we were working till like 6 p.m. or something. And I remember it's in the evening rush. It was after 5 o'clock. Traffic was backed up on Airport Freeway. A minivan in front of us cuts across the grass median. And Mark says, I'll go up there. We'll just write that guy a ticket and go home. Well, I'm trying to leave to go on vacation as soon as we get off.
I
So-
needed one more.
so
I
you're-
needed one more.
One more.
But Doug's day stopped at like 12 noon because no whammies before he leaves for
Well,
vacation.
that's right. That's right. I mean, if we're being completely honest, I mean, that's
Yeah,
kind of the way it works.
You do not want to get into anything that's going to
That's absolutely right.
delay vacation.
Yeah.
But your partner here,
Yeah, my partner here, Mr. Activity,
just one more.
just one more. So we stop him, and he goes, it's a minivan with Nebraska tags on it.
Yes, sir.
We get up there. It's he gets to the driver's window. I'm on the passenger window. It's a male driving, a female passenger. And all of a sudden, Mark screams, gun, and he draws down on him. I pull my weapon and I draw down. Well, the female, she's going for something behind her seat. I can't tell what it is. Mark is pulling this guy out of the car. I open the door. Yeah, gently. And I requested respectfully that she exit the car
Yes.
and lie down on the grass, which we assisted her. I assisted her.
That's our story.
That's her story. Yeah. So anyway, the bottom line was the guy had a 44 Magnum under the seat that he was going for, and she had a little 38 snub in a plastic gun case behind her seat or next to her seat that she was trying to get to. And all I'm thinking about, how many hours before I can leave on vacation.
A lot of paperwork.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
Mark,
Doug.
well, actually, Mark's brother was canine officer at the time, and he called the dog out, and that turned out the van was stolen out of Omaha, Nebraska. I think it was a rental. And that they never returned, so it was reported stolen. So we had a stolen car. We've got them with weapons, and I don't know if there was any felony involved in those weapons or not. I don't recall. It's been too long ago. But anyway, it was just Mark stepped up. He did the right thing and said, "I'll take the paperwork." And I said, "Well, I'll get in my truck and leave." So,
I'm going on vacation.
I don't think he ever rode with me again after that.
I don't know. Yeah, we did. We did. So Mark was an awesome officer and a great partner.
As you were, too.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
well.
See,
Okay,
trying to
can,
make it right.
can you see the little love birds?
That's right.
I did. Wow.
You know, what I love about that story is that this is law enforcement, right? You're dealing with people with guns, stolen car, felonies, just the list goes on, and all you're thinking about is, man, paperwork.
That's right.
I got to do paperwork now.
Right.
True. That's
I want to get out of here.
That's right.
Like
Yeah.
normal citizens are like would be flipping out, but
Yeah.
but it's
I
another
think
day
I
in the office.
volunteered to do the record sheet. I think I did that.
That's generous.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the tow sheet. Once that
Right.
record clears, you're
That's right.
I'm out.
Well, it was just the right thing to do.
But you got to go on your vacation.
That's right.
And you
I
got to
did.
go on time.
Yeah, I did. Yep. Sure did.
Outstanding.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I'd like to thank you both for being in the show today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Doug, thanks for the copy of the book.
Oh, you bet.
Man,
You bet.
that's-
And thanks for plugging it for us. We really appreciate it. And if anybody wants a copy for a Christmas gift, it's behindthetexasbadge.com.
BehindTheTexasBadge.com. Guys, pick one up. Makes an awesome Christmas gift. Until next time, guys, stay safe and watch each other 6.
Later.